Let's do a college football preview for week 9 of the college football season. Today is October the 25th, 2025. Greatly appreciate you tuning in. We have two plays we're going to look at. One is going to be a no play, even though we have value via the model. The second one, we have value via the model, and it's actually going to be a play. Before we do that, a couple quick announcements. If you're new to this channel, I do something called Free Fridays. I give out all my lines for all my sports via my models on Friday via Instagram, MGCovers, if you want to follow me with a Z. So you get a ton of value simply by following me. We gave out Buffalo for NHL via the model at cash. We didn't end up playing Buffalo. We actually played Winnipeg. It had value via the model. So if you'd looked at the lines for NHL, both of those went 2-0, off to a really good start for NHL. It's always been a solid model for us. Also, one other announcement. If you want to learn modeling, I've started a Substack. We've just had a ton of growth. This has been a lot of fun for me. It's actually free to join. I generally do like one free post a week. If you want to get access to the paid content, it's $30 a month, very inexpensive. Just released an NFL model, meaning I show you the entire model from A to Z, what stats we use, how we calculate the line. That model, the last 3 weeks was up 16 units, grading one play as 1 unit. Very, very effective model, albeit a small sample size. So if you're interested in that, there's a link to follow me and join on the Substack in the description of this video. Let's dive into some college football for today. And the very first game we're going to look at is going to be UCLA and Indiana. Now, what you're looking at, this is my line for the game via the model. We don't alter this line, meaning this is 100% calculated from the stats we use from the model. There is no bias factored into that. When you're modeling, at least the way that I do it, the way that I teach it, we want an unadulterated, unbiased statistical line via stats and using stats that equate or correlate to winning. So via the model, we have this line as UCLA minus 13. And most of you know this is not the books line. The books line has UCLA at plus, let's see what it's currently at, plus 26.5. It opened at 24. Now, to the novice, you would say, wow, that's a tremendous amount of value for UCLA. That would be an automatic play for UCLA, but not so fast. So how I teach modeling and how I approach specifically spread sports, when you're handicapping, you only want to wager on teams that you feel like can win outright or based on your model have a chance to win. Now you say, well, UCLA's minus 13 via your model. That is correct. Other things we have to consider. So we have value. The model says, quote, they should win minus 13, although there's just a huge differential. We also have to factor in margin of error with the model, meaning like, even though your model might produce a line of say minus 13, there's a margin of error within that model as well when you're dealing with stats, because NCAA football, you have a limited sample size. For example, year to date, this is week 9. So technically these teams have only played 8 games. If they have a bye week, they've only played 7 games. So you have a very small sample size. Also, too, understanding what I call statistical properties. Statistical properties are facts about that sport. UCLA is away. Away teams only win outright 30% of the time. Now, as you're hearing this, and if you're new to my content, you might say, well, they don't have to win. They only have to cover via the model. So you're getting 26.5 points. This seems like a no-brainer. The way that I teach college football handicapping and what's made me successful in this sport, you don't want to wager on a team unless you feel like they have a legitimate chance to win. Why is that important? Teams that cover win outright 80% of the time. You'll often hear handicappers say, I don't think they'll win, but I think they'll cover. That is an incorrect statement based on the statistical properties of college football, because teams that do not win will only cover 20% of the time. This is a statistical fact. And I challenge you, anytime you hear somebody say something in the sports betting education space, always make sure you verify it. There was a video I made about handicapper talking about buying points. Majority of things that you hear in the sports betting education space is incorrect. And considering this is a statistically based business or a math-based business, you can verify that. So what I mean is teams that win cover 80% of the time. So if a team does not win, there's only a 20% chance they're going to cover. And I want to go back to college football. Let's just look at this week's games so far that have been played. And we'll start with last night. You can see Columbia Dartmouth. Look at that. Minus 12.5. Dartmouth wins and covered. North Texas. I talked about this on Instagram. Minus 25.5. And I'm looking at bookmakers closing line. Bookmaker is a sharp book. So we'll look at the closing line, which is the most accurate, realistic line. 54-20, they win and cover. Virginia Tech -6, they win and cover. Boise State -21, they win, and that was an actual push. Montana, Sacramento, Montana wins and covers. South Alabama wins and covers. Delaware won, but they didn't cover, so the spread came into play on that game. Missouri State was -2.5. They win and cover. Kennesaw State wins and covers. Western Kentucky wins and covers. So the spread only mattered in one game. So, for example, in the Western Kentucky game, most people would have probably taken the points. That is the incorrect way to play it. Why? Because teams that win or teams that cover are going to win 80% of the time. So it's advantageous on those small numbers, especially if it's less than a touchdown, to actually play that team on the money line. Because if they cover, there is an 80% chance that they win outright. So therefore, I know this was a long point to make, but it's a very important point to make. So we go back and look at this UCLA-Indiana game. My line is -13. Yes, we have value. However, they are away. Away teams only win 30% of the time. And then realistically, when you look at the spread, you can handicap it from that perspective. How often does a plus 26.5 dog win outright? Very, very rare. So therefore, the way that I handicap, the way that I teach, we actually would pass on this game. Okay. Now, let's look at a game that has value that we will probably end up playing. It's going to be Texas A&M and LSU. Texas A&M also away, -14.5. They're undefeated, having a very, very good season, going on the road to play LSU. Okay, let's look at the line for Texas A&M and LSU. Some of the rec books open this up at +5. Line is now -2.5, Texas A&M. I think Bookmaker and Pinnacle both opened it up at -2.5. So granted, Texas A&M is away. Again, like I said before in that previous example, you only want to play teams that you feel like can win. We have a tremendous amount of value via the model, -14.5. Yes, they are on the road, but it's a very small number to cover. Feel like in this case, via the model, Texas A&M is a better team. If Texas A&M is home, this line would probably be pushing close to 7. So I feel like we do get a tremendous amount of value, even though we're playing an away team. So this will probably be a play, Texas A&M -2.5. Hope that helps. If you want to have access to all my lines for all sports, you can do that. There's a link to join the description of this video. $50 a month gives you access right now to soccer, NHL, college football, NFL, all my lines for those sports. Plus, we do one coaching video per week on the site as well. And greatly appreciate you guys watching this video. Good luck today, and go Texas A&M. Peace.